Hi students, welcome back to my channel. In today's class, we are going to learn about a lesson called biomolecules. This lesson comes at the end of the organic chemistry. The study of biology at molecular level is called biochemistry. We know that the plants and animals are made up of many organ systems. Each organ system is made up of different organs. These organ systems performs a definite life processes like respiration, transportation, control and coordination, etc. These organ systems consists of many organs, and each organ is composed of different kinds of tissues, and each tissue is made up of a special kind of cells, and even the cell is made up of many components called cell organelles. And if you take each cell organelles, so it's made up of a big molecules, large molecules, macromolecules, and these molecules are called as the biomolecules. So in biochemistry, it's a branch of biology, or it is also a branch of organic chemistry, which we are going to learn about these biomolecules, from which the cells, tissues, organs are made up of. Okay, students, in this class we are going to learn in detail about the different biomolecules, okay, in the view of chemical composition and chemical reactions, methods of preparation. Okay, we have just learned about the chemistry of these biomolecules. Okay, before going ahead, I'll request you to please subscribe to this channel if you are new, and also press bell icons, and also if you like this lesson, you can compulsorily press the like button, okay, and share with your the friends. Okay, let's go ahead. What are biomolecules? The biomolecules are bigger molecules. They contains large number of atoms. They are very complicated structure. They have very complicated structure. They have very large molecular masses, and they are so heavy that many of them are not soluble in water. And these are the most okay okay yes, these biomolecules are bigger than the molecules which we have learned so far under the various functional groups like haloalkanes, alcohols, phenols, ethers, aldehydes and ketones. When you compare to these molecules, biomolecules are bigger and more complicated. Some of the important biomolecules that we are supposed to learn are mainly carbohydrates and proteins, fats and oils. Okay, even though they are biomolecules which we are not studying in this lesson, vitamins and nucleic acids, hormones. So these are some of the most important biomolecules. Now let's begin the first biomolecules in detailed study, so called as carbohydrates. What are carbohydrates? Yes, what are carbohydrates? Some of the common examples of carbohydrates are glucose, fructose, galactose, sucrose, maltose, lactose. You can see that many of their names end with O's. Okay, O's. Yes. Starch, cellulose, glycogen are some of the common examples of carbohydrates. In green plants, in the leaf of a plant, carbon dioxide and water are converted to form sugars called as glucose. Glucose. Might have studied earlier. Okay, this in this it happens in a process called as a photosynthesis. In glucose, you can see that we write plus. So the significance of this plus is that the solution of glucose rotates the plane polarized light when it passes through it towards the right side. So it's a dextrorotatory chemical. Its solution rotates the plane polarized light towards the right side. Okay. So hence in photosynthesis, in the leaves, carbon dioxide and water are converted to form glucose. This process requires the green coloring matter chlorophyll, which catalyzes the photosynthesis, and this reaction also requires the solar energy, the light energy, the sunlight. So you know that sunlight consists of energy packets called as photons. These are capable of breaking some of the bonds in the water and carbon dioxide, which makes them more reactive, so to convert them into glucose. Once the glucose is prepared, thousands of glucose molecules are combined to form cellulose. Cellulose is an important chemical that is required to make a cell wall. Cell wall is hard substance which surrounds the plant cell. Okay, and it also gives support to the plants. Okay, careful. Glucose molecules can also be combined to form a large molecules called as the starch. Glucose molecules can combine. We are going to learn how exactly the glucose molecules combine. So, but starch is produced from the large number of glucose molecule. The starch is stored in the seeds, okay, which serves as a food for the new growing the plant. When eaten by animals, this starch and cellulose are broken down into plus glucose in their digestive system, and this glucose is absorbed and taken to the different cells where the glucose is utilized to produce the energy, and unconverted glucose, excess glucose, is converted into another carbohydrate called as the glycogen in animals. So, and this glycogen is stored in livers, muscles, okay, etc. So hence this glycogen is also called as the animal starch. The normal starch is also called as storage polysaccharide in plants. Yes. Some of the glucose is converted into fats if it is not utilized, and some glucose reacts with nitrogen containing compounds or converts into amino acids. Okay. Amino acids are the building blocks of proteins. Proteins are again a biomolecules which are made up of a large number of amino acids, which we are going to learn in detail. The proteins make up a large part of the animal body. The much part of the cell, many cell organelles, many cell membranes are made up of proteins along with the other substance. Yes. Now, let us look into the importance of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are ultimate source of energy. All the plants and animals depends on the carbohydrates for their energy sources. We eat, we eat, we eat starch containing grain, okay, or feed these grains to animals to be converted into meat and fat. The cotton, linen, rayon, cellulose acetate, which we use as clothes, are made up of cellulose. Cellulose is a carbohydrate. The dead wood, okay, from which we build houses and furniture, it's nothing but the cellulose. When all the components of the cell dries up, it leaves behind the cellulose. So cellulose. So cellulose, okay, can also be used, okay, as a paper in the manufacture of paper, books, newspapers. They are also made up of cellulose, especially the sugar cane. Okay, so the sugar, okay, the sugar cane, when all the juices are squeezed out, it is dried, uh, or some bamboo pulp, okay, is dried and it's used, okay, to make paper, newspaper and books, okay, which is mainly contain cellulose. Carbohydrates are found in combination with nucleic acids, and many proteins contains carbohydrates, and lipids, fats and oils also contains carbohydrates. So this is the importance of carbohydrates. Therefore, we have to study the carbohydrates in detail. So before going into the detailed study of the biomolecules, it is better to understand the classification of carbohydrates. Classification of carbohydrates. Okay, students, let's continue to learn more about carbohydrates. Why do you think the carbohydrates are so called? If you write the formula of glucose, its formula is C6H12O6. This can be written as C6 and H2O 6 times. Even if you write the common sugar and table sugar formula, sucrose, whose formula is C12H22O11, this can also be written as C12 and H2O11. So therefore, these compounds, okay, carbohydrates, okay, generally can be represented with the formula CnH2O(m) times. So this formula looks like it, okay, the carbohydrates are so called because they looks like hydrates of carbon. So many carbohydrates formula can be written as CnH2O times the m. So hence, so in these carbohydrates were so called because it looks like the hydrates of carbon. It looks like the hydrates of a carbon. But there are many carbohydrates which cannot be written with this formula, and there are some compound like acetic acid, okay, which can also be written as okay, in the form of hydrates of carbon, but it is not, acetic acid is not a carbohydrate. So therefore, okay, that formula doesn't fit, okay, hydrates of carbon doesn't fit for the much of the carbohydrates. So hence they have given a new definition for the carbohydrates. So carbohydrates, what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are defined as, they are optically active compounds. Optically active compounds, that means they can rotate the plane polar light towards left side or right side. Either they are dextrorotatory or levorotatory, or sometimes even they form racemic mixture. Carbohydrates, what are carbohydrates? Carbohydrates are optically active okay, polyhydroxyaldehydes, polyhydroxy okay, aldehydes. That means they may contain large number of hydroxyl group and an aldehyde group, or polyhydroxy ketones, polyhydroxy ketones. So, what are carbohydrates? They are mainly considered as polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. Yes. Or the compounds which on hydrolysis, if the compounds when they subjected to hydrolysis, okay, either enzyme hydrolysis or acid hydrolysis, okay, if they give polyhydroxyaldehydes, so they are also called as carbohydrates, polyhydroxyaldehydes, or polyhydroxy ketones. If they give, if the compounds on hydrolysis, if we give polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones, so they are also called as carbohydrates. Yes. So, what are carbohydrates therefore? Carbohydrates may be defined as optically active polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones, or the compounds which on hydrolysis produces these polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. What is the meaning of polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones? If you write the structure of glucose, you will come to know what is meant by polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. So, you will come to know which are polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. Glucose formula is molecular formula is C6H12O6. Its actual structure formula is it's a 6 carbon atom containing compound where all carbon atoms form a straight chain, and each carbon atom has one hydrogen and one hydroxyl group. Okay, but third carbon atom OH group is in reverse order. We are going to learn the structure of glucose in detail. So, this is the structure of a glucose. So, that is why these compounds are called as okay, polyhydroxy okay, aldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. Okay, glucose is a polyhydroxyaldehyde. Let me write the ketone. Okay, let me write the ketone. So, ketone, let me write a fructose. Fructose. Fructose molecular formula is also C6H12 and O6, and it is found that if you write the structural formula, it is found that it contains a keto group. It contains a keto group, CO group, carbonyl group in the second carbon atom. The other groups are again polyhydroxy aldehydes. Yeah. So, that is why these carbohydrates are called as polyhydroxy. So, they are called as polyhydroxy, means the compounds containing many hydroxyl group and a ketone or an aldehyde. Or so suppose if you take a okay, if you take a starch, this starch on hydrolysis gives a large number of polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. Hence, starch, cellulose, glycogen are also considered as okay, carbohydrates. Even common sugar, table sugar, this on hydrolysis also gives a glucose and fructose. So, they are also, it is also called as a okay, carbohydrate. Okay. So, hence finally, we can just understand the definition of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are optically active. So, you should mention whether dextrorotatory or levorotatory. Optically active polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy keto, or the compounds which on hydrolysis gives these polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxy ketones. So, that is the definition of carbohydrates. Yes, it is found that some of the carbohydrates are sweet, okay, to taste. Okay. So, therefore, they are also called as sugars. They are also called as sugars. But all the carbohydrates are not sweet, but some of the compounds, okay, like glucose and sucrose, maltose, are they are sweet to taste. Hence, they are called as sugars. Okay, they are called as sugars. Okay. But all carbohydrates are not sweet. For example, starch. Starch is not sweet to taste, but it has a bland taste. Okay, students, let's learn about the classification of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are classified on the basis of their behavior on hydrolysis. Subject them to hydrolysis. What do you mean by hydrolysis? When the carbohydrates are boiled with dilute sulfuric acid, so they can be broken down into the simpler compounds based on how many simpler monosaccharides are obtained. Okay. So they can be broadly classified into three categories. One is monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. So, carbohydrates like this can be broadly classified into monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. What are monosaccharides? Monosaccharides on hydrolysis, on if they subjected to hydrolysis, okay, these compounds do not give any simpler monosaccharide, do not give any simpler monosaccharide. What are monosaccharides? Monosaccharides are polyhydroxyaldehydes or polyhydroxyketones. So, monosaccharides on hydrolysis do not give any simpler sugar units. Okay, they are the simplest sugars. So, they do not give any simpler unit of polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxy ketones. It is found that there are about 20 types of monosaccharides in nature. There are about 20 types of monosaccharides occur in nature. Examples for monosaccharides. The most common examples for monosaccharides are glucose, fructose, galactose, and ribose. So, these are monosaccharide units. What are oligosaccharides? Oligosaccharides on hydrolysis, when they are subjected to hydrolysis, you will get around 2 to 10 monosaccharide units. So, you will get around a few monosaccharide units. Yes, oligosaccharides on hydrolysis gives around 2 to 10 monosaccharide units. Again, further, they are classified as disaccharides, which on hydrolysis give 2 monosaccharide units. Trisaccharides, these on trisaccharides on hydrolysis gives around 3 monosaccharide units. Tetrasaccharides, on hydrolysis gives around 4 monosaccharide units. out of these oligosaccharides, it is found that monosaccharides are considered as the most common oligosaccharides. The most common oligosaccharides are disaccharides. So, the trisaccharides and tetrasaccharides. Okay. Give some examples of disaccharides. Table sugar, common sugar or household sweetener, okay, is called as sucrose. Sucrose. Sucrose is an example of disaccharides. This on hydrolysis gives two sugar units. One it is glucose and fructose. Glucose and fructose. Yes. Malt sugar. Malt sugar is also called as maltose. Maltose gives two glucose units. Two glucose units on hydrolysis. Milk sugar called as lactose gives glucose and galactose on hydrolysis. So, therefore, okay, so these three sucrose, maltose and lactose belongs to a category of disaccharides. Next category are called as polysaccharides. So, what are polysaccharides? Polysaccharides on hydrolysis. Take a polysaccharide on boiling with dilute sulfuric acid, we get large number of monosaccharide units. Large number of monosaccharide units. When you get a large number of monosaccharide units on hydrolysis, okay, it's a polysaccharide. Polysaccharides on hydrolysis gives a large number of monosaccharides. Some of the examples for polysaccharides: starch. Starch is an example of a polysaccharide. This on hydrolysis gives a large number of glucose units. Are produced. Next, cellulose. The cell wall is made mainly of this polysaccharides, cellulose. Again, these on hydrolysis, you will get a large number of okay, glucose units. Large number of glucose units. Starch and cellulose both are made up of glucose units only, but their structure is slightly different. Hence, their properties are also different. Glycogen, the third examples of polysaccharide. In animals, excess glucose in the blood is converts into this polymer of glucose, which has a similar structure as a starch and is stored in some special tissues in liver and muscles. So, this polysaccharide is called as glycogen. Again, this on hydrolysis, you will get a large number of glucose units. Large number of glucose units. So, these are polysaccharides. Polysaccharides. So, along with that, there are some non-edible polysaccharides are also present. So, pectin is an example. Okay, pectin is an example of a polysaccharide. And some trees secretes some gum. When a small incision is made in a tree, it secretes a gum to protect itself. So, this is also an example of a polysaccharide. Okay. In some Rajasthani sweets, they may put this gum also. Some monosaccharide units are also called as aldoses because they contain aldehyde group. Some monosaccharide units may contain a keto group, hence they are called as ketoses. Aldoses contains aldehyde group, ketose contains a keto group. Along with the polyhydroxyaldehydes, if a monosaccharide contains an aldose, it is called as aldehyde group, it is called as aldose. Keto group, it is called as a ketose. And also depending upon the number of monosaccharide units, on hydrolysis, so we can classify them as a trioses, tetroses, pentose, hexose, etc. If a monosaccharide unit contains 5 sugar units, it is called as pentose. If it contains 6 sugar units, it is called as the hexose. Hexose. Yes. So, sometimes monosaccharide units may contain a aldehyde group and 6 carbon atom. At that time, it is called as a aldohexose. Glucose. Yes. Okay. Sometimes a ketohexose. Fructose is an example of a ketohexose. So, ketohexose. Okay, ketohexose. Yes. Ketohexose. Fructose is an example of a ketohexose. Yes. The most naturally occurring monosaccharides are pentoses and hexoses. Yes. It is found that some some carbohydrates reacts with Tollens reagent and filling solutions. Okay. What are these? I think you might have already learned in aldehydes and ketones. Tollens reagents and filling solutions, okay, are so they are mild oxidizing agents. So, mild oxidizing agent. If any free aldehyde groups are present, especially aldoses, okay, aldoses, they can be easily oxidized. They can be easily oxidized. When this reaction occurs, okay, there is a change in the color is noticed. Tollens reagent, which is nothing but ammoniacal silver nitrate, gives a silver mirror. Silver mirror. And filling solution, which is a blue colored solution of copper sulfate, gives rise to a red precipitate of cuprous oxide. So, if any carbohydrate is reduced by Tollens reagents and filling solutions, no. If they are oxidized by Tollens reagent and filling solution, so they are called as reducing sugars. Reducing sugars. Reducing sugars. What are the examples of reducing sugars? Glucose, fructose. Even though it contains a keto group, but it is found that due to some resonance, like some kind of resonance structure, makes it to react with Tollens reagents and filling solution. Okay. Yes. Even maltose and even lactose also can react with Tollens reagents and filling solutions, and these, okay, get oxidized. What is a non-reducing sugar? Non-reducing sugar doesn't react with filling solution and Tollens reagent. It is not possible to oxidize that non-reducing sugars. The example for non-reducing sugar is the table sugar, sucrose. What is the reason sucrose doesn't react with the Tollens reagents and filling solution? So, the reason is that there is no free aldehyde or keto group, free aldehyde, okay, free aldehyde group. Yes, the important components of sucrose are the sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose. Both of them are joined by using their free aldehyde and a free keto group. Therefore, they are not available. Hence, sucrose does not react with tolerance regions and fillings solutions. Yes. So, this is about the classification of carbohydrates.